Welcome everyone to Wednesday with, oh, here comes Zach. Wednesday with Mike and Barb Haigwood as our special guests tonight. Um, I know that some of you have seen Mike sharing about community building, which has been wonderful, and we appreciate all the things that you're bringing to the table, Mike. And Barb, I've talked to you on the phone. It's so good to see you. And I know you're a team, so it's really great to have you here. I just want to, before we begin, I just want to point out that the few people that you're going to see regularly in this room is Paul from upstate New York, Nikki over there, wherever she is on your screen. There she is, Mara, and Deb. Where are you, Deb? There she is. Okay, great. So anytime we're all working together as a team, so we might be filling in for each other. And I know at the end of this talk, Nikki's going to share a little bit more about an idea of our circle campfires, our campfire conversations. Lots of good things happening here. Appreciate you being here and welcome all the people that are just popping in. Great to have you here. So, Mike, you didn't send me an introduction, but I'm gonna just spotlight you and Barb and ask you to take it away.
Okay, thank you. Um, yeah, that's kind of what this is going to be as a spotlight on Barb and I. And um, I think a lot of people saw the title is that this is about how the Haigwoods were made, and it's a love story for the last 37 years. Um, I was born and raised in Shenandoah, Iowa, in southwest corner of Iowa, and uh, and Barb,
I finished growing up,
yeah.
or I haven't finished growing up. How about I graduated in Southwest Iowa, and that's where I met Mike. And so we, I was working at a convenience store as a assistant manager, and Mike was working across the road, all hot and sweaty, and I'm like, oh, he's so cute, but oh man, he's so old for me. I thought he was way too old. So I had told a few people in the store, that I thought he was cute.
That's a key point right there. That's a key point. She told I had no choice in this. I was going to fall in love with her. The magic spell had been cast. So anyway, I come up one day. I need to do some mixed oil for my weed eater and things like that. And the instructions were in quarts, and I needed ounces. And I was like, so I walked up to the door, and this is what I tell all the young guys. This is the greatest pickup line of all times. You walk in and you go, how many ounces are in a pint? And Barb's response was,
I don't know.
and I said, all right, never mind. How many ounces in a quart?
I don't know, but I can find out.
And I said, never mind. And I walked out the door. Best pickup line ever. Leave them hanging. No. So that was the initial introduction of Mike and Barb. A few days later, I come in hot and sweaty, smelling like pesticides, and she's working the late shift. And I walk in and I ask her because the convenience store had made pizzas. I said, "Hey, can you make me a pizza?"
I said, sure, I'll go. So I went to the back where it was all cleaned up, but I went ahead and made him a pizza, brought it out, and we talked a little bit during that time.
Well, and as a goofball, I didn't even notice until after she had got the pizza done that it was already cleaned up. So the next morning I walk in and I ask her manager, I said, "Hey, you know that Barb? I think you ought to give her a raise. She made me a pizza last night and she didn't have to. And oh, by the way, I suppose she's married and has kids." So I thought she was already taken too. So um but her response was, "Oh, no, no, no. She just writes a boy in California. So yeah, go ahead." That should have been my second notice that something was up. But anyway, um, I went back to work, came back a couple more days later, and one of her cohorts, I mean, coworkers was there, and I said, "Hey, you know what, Barb? Do you think I should ask her?
Think she would
Yeah,
go
do you think she'd go out with me?" And she goes, "No, I know she will." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, can I get her number?" And she goes, "Yeah, here it is."
Now she had to go look it up.
I was there. Barb wasn't. I was there. The number was already ready. So anyway,
So he calls my house that evening, and my sister's living with me to finish off her senior year, and she goes, "Hello, who is this?" And Mike goes, "It's Mike Haigwood," and she goes, "Hi, Mike."
never met her in my life.
Well, he into the store, but he just didn't know who
I
she
didn't know
was.
who she was.
And go ahead.
So then I said, do you think Barb would go out to the movies with me tonight? She goes, yes, I know she will. So I said, well, have her give me a call when she gets back and we'll go to the movies.
So then when I got back after washing the car, I gave him a call and we went out and watched Chances Are, and then in our hometown it's called Scooping the Loop, and so you just drive around this mile back and forth. And so we did that, and then we went to Dairy Queen and he had his banana split blizzard.
Only thing I ever ordered.
And then I got a peanut butter parfait.
Yeah.
We still remember those two things.
Yes.
And we talked until midnight, and just perfect gentleman. But we talked and we look back at like what were we even talking about, because we have no idea, but it wasn't one-sided, it was back and forth. We just hit it off right then and there. And we talked with each other every single night. In the last 36 years, there's been 2 1-week stints, one that I didn't talk to him at all, and you'll hear why later. And then another time he was working at a different job, and so I just couldn't reach him every night.
So anyway, I had a little house and Barb was staying there and we had
You just bought some new socks.
yeah, I bought some new socks, trashed them mowing lawns, and Barb says, "Oh, I'll wash your socks for you." And it's like, okay. So a couple days later, I go to put my socks on, and they just disintegrated on my feet, and I'm like, "What the what?" I said, it must be the water. So I had a well, and so I immediately called the rural water district, and I said, "Hey, I need a well, or I need water hooked up uh, to the rural water district." I called a plumber, spent about $2,500 to get that water hooked up. And the funny part about this story is that about 10 or 15 years later, a guy was telling him about how his well was so bad. And I said, "Oh, dude, you don't want to mess around with that, because my well, it was disintegrating my socks."
And then I said, well, this is the first time this subject had been brought up since then. I said, well, it wasn't the well that disintegrated your socks. It was that they were so dirty. I wanted to make sure they were clean. So I poured bleach on them in a container and set them out in the sun for a few hours. And then I ran them through the wash. Well, that's not the right thing to do.
I spent $2,500 for nothing. So anyway, but that was one of our funny stories that happened there. Um, at the end of our, I don't know, probably that was in spring that we had met, and by that fall, I had asked Barb, I had asked her dad if I could marry her, gave her an engagement ring, and then said we were going to get married the next year, and and
so I was like, we're going to break the apron string. Your mom's calling every week saying, come over. I'm going to do your laundry. I'll do your sheets and let's have dinner. And I'm like, just need to get away. So I talked him into going to Pennsylvania. And then that's where we had our, we got married and had our son. And then I worked at a floral shop right below our apartment. And so that's where we started major part of our journey.
Yeah, we lived in a valley with a lot of Amish. I was going to school at Penn State, and we really got enamored with the Amish lifestyle. So it really started going, we started focusing on, like, what is this homesteading stuff? So one of the first books, and that's kind of what this is. We're telling you a story, but we also want to share with you some of the books that have got us to the stages that we are.
And the ones that we think are important, that a lot of them we'll tell you when we share them with you, whether they're worth getting and why.
Right. And if somebody could post the name of the book and the author in the comments, I don't have a keyboard handy here, but one of the first things that we were watching PBS one night, and I had seen a site, I'm sorry, a station on PBS, and it was Mel Bartholomew's Square Foot Gardening. Looks like it's backwards.
It probably is, right?
Yes.
So this is the second edition. The first one we left at home. It's falling apart, but it actually is a great beginner book to do small space square foot gardening. And it tells you in here, what succession to do it, what time of the year works best, everything about the type of plant. So we feel like that's a really good book, and even to have as a reference guide.
Okay. Yes. And it really is a great book to start with. And I believe on YouTube, you can still watch some of those early, well, they would be the 1990 version of his TV program. So it's a really good program. We started kind of hanging out with the Amish and doing those types of things. Graduated, is that?
Wait, yeah, but
Oh no, then yeah.
This one here. So doing the square foot gardening, we were doing that, and then we were living in a mobile home on a piece of property. The landlord was next door, and he had cows and just a few head, and he was going to go on vacation. He says, "Hey, would you guys be interested in just kind of watching the cows? You don't have to do anything. Just, watch, make sure that the water's filling up. You don't have to move them. You don't have to do anything." So we're like, "Oh, that sounds easy." So we're watching them every day. And then one day I noticed, this is after we had our son, and we're out there watching the cows, and we see this calf that was just born, and it wasn't getting up, and the mom was, circling it, and so we were like, well, what do we do? So we went out there, we grabbed the calf, and we took it up to the barn, and we put the mom through the head chute, and I'm like, okay, well, this is easy, right? So I went over there, and I just started, squirting some milk out of her teats, and got the calf up there and started, she started sucking, and then had all this life, put it back into her, and then we were put her back out in the pasture. And that was so much fun. That was my first time, being around a big animal and doing anything. So
that was our first, I guess, our initiation into homesteading. So when I was in school at Penn State, and also moving to Pennsylvania from Iowa, one of the big culture shocks was going and seeing, well, out on the East Coast, they call them mountains. But here on the West Coast, we really have mountains out here, or out in the West here in the Rockies. These are real mountains. But it was the first time I saw any kind of shape to a landscape, and there were tons and tons of trees. So one of the things that I really got enamored with was trees. And this book right here.
Well, this one's for birds, but
this one's for birds, but any of the Audubon Society books are excellent. They're bugs, they're butterflies, they're birds, fish, rocks. They're great little field guides, got great little pictures in them. And the guide actually helps you learn how to identify things. So this was one of the series of books that I really liked that way. So
and then that's when you started going to school.
And then I was going to school and then learned about books that way. So what's that, Daniel?
Bud just shared this with me, but apparently Ben, for the first time, posted on our Facebook page saying, I assure everyone I am not relaxing at home. I am not on vacation. Many people here claiming to have talked to me have not spoken to me. And then wrote Joel, Joel. I don't know what that's. And then he wrote, I have spoken of this moment. I am doing what I can to make this all survive. I hope it does. Pray for me. And that's it. So,
Thank you, Daniel.
yep. Sorry to interrupt. Just
No,
thought I'd
no,
share
that's
it.
fine. Everybody needed to know that.
Okay.
So after graduation, we moved back to the Midwest and to be closer to grandparents and family. And we had moved down to the to Lee Summit, which is a suburb of Kansas City. And that's when we had our second child. I was a landscape designer for a garden center chain in the Midwest. And Barb was raising babies. And
The landscaping vanity.
so that was when I started to figure out that landscaping was not something that was really, giving me fulfillment. Because one story was I went to these people's brand new house, probably a $300,000-400,000 house, and in the early '90s that was an expensive house, and they had a brand new Lexus, they had a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee on there, and we had to sit on the floor in the house because they didn't have enough money to buy furniture. And they wanted to know how much landscaping they could get done for $500. And I went, one tree. And they said, no, no, really. And I said, no, no, really. But anyway, we talked through that, and I was packing up, and the interior designer was coming in, and I overheard her saying that, oh, I think I've got a really good budget for the drapes and the window treatments. I think I've got it under $500 a window.
So that was
And that really put the nail in the coffin there. So I started to figure out I need to do something different. And then at that time, being a young father, figuring out, hey, you know what? Our kids need, community, need something like that. I grew up as a Catholic. Let's go to the Catholic Church, and you know what? I'm going to start reading the Bible too. And when I started reading the Bible, I noticed that there was a lot of farmers in there, farmers and ranchers, and they really that what that really showed me was that true wealth was from livestock and from the land. So and it was the thing that I started to really start to focus on.
So we moved back to the Midwest to be around the family, to have trying to have community during that time. And so we had a house, and I was doing the square foot gardening in the backyard. I had nine 4x4 square foot, producing food for the family, vegetable wise. And I was taking the excess to the farmer's market, and I'd be coming home with this money, and I'm sharing this with Mike, and he goes, what? Well, we can have 2 acres. And they did the math. If you do 2 acres and you're making this much, you're going to produce this much. And it was like, oh, I went along with it. So we rented 2 acres. We put a well on somebody else's land. We bought 2 semi loads of compost to put on someone else's land. And we're paying this large amount of rent. And then we're trying to do it the square foot gardening way, all manual work. It was the biggest learning lessons, because we even took a loan out, a business loan. And it's funny how the banks will loan you money and not really look at your business plan.
That's right. So that was our lesson. And a lot of times you can spend as much money as you would going to college, but you actually get some experience. So that was one of the things that we looked at. The next book that we looked at was The E-Myth. This was a book that helped us try and figure out how to do a business plan. And so that's another one. Who's the author?
Michael Gerber,
Michael Gerber.
E-Myth Revisited. What you don't know and what to do about it. Okay.
So I think that's the next part, right?
Uh-huh.
So then we made a decision to move out onto a homestead. And then I was working in town. Barb was running the homestead. And
That's when we did Joel Salad.
yeah, that would be when we started to do Joel Salatin. Joe Salatin's what is it? Pasture Poultry for Profit by Joel Salatin. One of the things that Joel has always said is that chickens are the gateway drug to homesteading. So this is your Bible to start your homesteading practices with.
It's a good beginner book on poultry, and it gives you all the ins and outs. So I think it was a great beginning. I don't think that you're going to make even 25,000 in 6 months on 20 acres. I mean, you're going to be hustling to do that. But if you're going to do it yourself, this is a great beginner book to, in its time, it really helped us.
So when we were in that position, we were looking for a house to homestead on. And one of the books that we had figured out was about manifesting. And I know that that Dr. Dunning is coming out with a manifesting book, or it's actually, I think it may be out already. It's already out. But the first manifesting book that we have,
I don't see it.
I didn't put it in there.
I don't see it. Keep going.
Okay. So it's Florence Chauvel, Chovel, Shin, Shin, maybe 2 N's. Anyway, that book is about manifesting, and it really helped us because one of the things that we figured out is that you have to write things down. You have to really put it out there in the ether and voice it and allow the universe to bless you, or God, whichever. Same thing, in my opinion. But that's one of the things. So what we did is we wrote down everything that we wanted as a minimum.
So we had moved and Mike was doing some landscaping at a nursery for this guy, and we couldn't find a piece of property to rent. We wanted to be out in the country again. And so he's the one that says, you need to write all these things down and then put it out in the universe. So that's what we did. We wrote every single little thing down. We wanted a minimum of 2 acres. We wanted a minimum of 2 bedrooms. We wanted to have water nearby, all these types of things. And so we wrote them all down, and we could not find a piece of property around our area. And his secretary happened to take her mom to a doctor's appointment a different direction. She happened to go a different route to get to the doctor's office. She went by this house. This guy was picking up his for sale sign, and she turned around, went back. She says, is your place for sale? And he goes, well, it was. It still could be. I've just taken it off the market. So she got his name and number, gave it to us. We called him and then said, we're very interested. It had every single thing that was on our list, everything. And then we were like, how are we going to afford this? We don't have a down payment. We just moved. And so he said, you guys can move in now. And by closing time, we'll work it out in 2 months. So he was actually the one that financed it for us. And by the time we closed, we had the down payment. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it worked out that way. And I will say that this this part of our life really started to accelerate in our learning process. At that time, we were really worried about, or not worried, but just concerned about food. And so we went through a bunch of different diets. One is the Fine Gold diet. Another one is the Rainbow diet. We went through the gluten-free diet, and then we landed on one that really started to stick with us, and it was Sally Fallon. The book is called Nourishing Traditions. Sally Fallon Morell. And this is just the beginning of the story with Sally with us. There's more to it as we go on. And so we started doing Sally Fallon's book. We also started to realize that we needed to do a better job with our animals. So we were getting milk from a neighbor because Sally's book was starting to promote raw milk. So this is the other.
This one here, I would say this one isn't necessarily a book that you would need to buy. Check it out. It's just going to help you to understand that raw milk is not dangerous, and that, you know, you got the enzymes and how beneficial it is.
And how industry has demonized raw milk. That's part of this story on this book here too. We also started to get a little bit more interested in, you know, using the old ways of living, you know, homesteading and things like that.
Oh,
So
my cover is now missing completely.
yeah,
This
this
is
is the book that we use.
but here I got a revised one.
So this is the Country Living.
Encyclopedia of Country Living. And it's Carla Emery. And this book is amazing. I mean, it's kind of small print, but it has every little thing of homesteading in there. Country living.
I would compare that to the Firefox series also. So that those would be another one.
I guess this would be more of the Encyclopedia of the Firefox, is more story form.
Right. So that was some of the things that we did for books that when we were really starting a homestead. And at the same time that we were learning about all of these things, I was working in a factory, and that sucks to work nights and then homestead during the day. So we really started to sit there and say, you know what, if we're going to do this farming thing, let's do it for real. And we ended up moving to, I quit my job. We became interns on a dairy farm. And then the other thing that we like to tell people to do is go and visit what you're interested in. Just visit everybody, even things that you don't like or don't think you'll like, visit them anyway. Even if it's a commercial, whatever, you're going to pick up skills, or you're going to pick up little tidbits that are going to help you to form a better homestead for yourself. So that's one of the things that we did. So and at that time we were also working with livestock, and one of the books that we really like a lot is the alternative treatments for ruminant animals, and this is by Dr. Paul Detloff. Another excellent book.
This was like my Bible of how to treat the cows with different ailments on a natural method.
And as you start working with animals and you start working with humans, you start figuring out, oh, wait, there's one thing that we forgot to take care of, and that was the land. And one of the first books that we started doing was Mark Shepard's, Regenerative Agriculture. Mark Shepard was in the Minnesota area, and he's kind of a permaculture / biodynamic farmer. Excellent farmer.
We met him in the very beginning when he was doing biodynamics and setting up his farm. So we've met a lot of these people before they wrote their books, and he's really cool. And I liked how he didn't have a driveway per se. You drove on the grass for a little bit and before it got ruined, and then he would drive on another section, or you would be at the bottom if it was too wet. So it's just something that I remember at his place.
So one of the places that we had interned in, one of the things that they were doing was
Making rum.
making raw milk butter. And it was being sent to California. Another connection later that we have when we get there. But that butter was being sent to somebody that helped people with their diets. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, where are we at? So when we were making butter on that as interns, the one thing that the farmer that was trying to teach us how to farm, one of the things that he had told us was that we don't have what it takes to make it. You don't say that to the Haigwoods. So we
Well, his one thing that was there, I don't know how important that is, but their dairy was supposed to be all organic, and I would walk by and I saw a bag of chicken feed that was medicated, and I said, "Oh, you guys got the wrong bag of feed." And they're like, "Oh no, this is okay. They're just baby chicks right now, and it doesn't matter. That's all we could find." So there was a lot of these little things that we were noticing about organics, and so it's very helpful, even if you know where you're getting your food from, is to go there and actually see what's going on.
And make sure that it's part of the principles of the farmer, not just the marketing. If they're doing it just for the money, then it's not something that goes clear to their soul. So is the I Ching there? Okay. So this is the next book that and Barb really is the one that taps into this. This is the I Ching. And this is a Chinese, right? I think it's Chinese.
It's Asian.
Yeah. I think it's a Chinese way.
For beginners, which I like better than this one. I couldn't find my beginner one, but this is my other one. And so I Ching I Ching is a way of divination and making decisions. And so it's not a yes or no question, and you can use divination rods or you can use coins. It sounds kind of woo-woo, but it was amazing. I picked up the book. We're sitting there waiting for a milk drop off to some of our customers, and I was like, "Mike, do you want to try this book out?" And we asked a question, and then I did the divination. I was like reading it.
Yeah.
Is this real?
Yeah. So in other words, these are all data points. Nothing is a religion that way. It's just something to help you think about things.
Does this work here?
Sure.
So this one, talking about energy. This one I really like a lot. My daughter really likes it. The sun's really hitting this now. It's called Louise Hay. You Can Heal Your Life. So I don't know if anybody else has seen this book, but your body manifests different ailments, and then when you actually recognize them, you can actually get rid of them. So that one's good.
That was a good one too. So at this point, we were hopping from farm to farm, learning different techniques, increasing our education and experience. And we had met a lady at a conference that we had told her about our diet and what we wanted to do and stuff like that. And she's the one that actually put us on to Sally Fallon.
So the nourishing tradition one, we were telling her we were gluten intolerant and all that. She goes, "I don't think that you guys are gluten intolerant. I think you just need to treat your grains differently." So then that's when I checked out the book from the Nourishing Traditions book from the library, and I checked it out week after week. Mike's sitting beside me reading it. It's starting to get worn because we're really like devouring this book. And it is still a book that I use today, and I use it for teaching a lot of the classes that are at Observer Ranch. And so she actually, is that where you're going to go? So then later on, we were interning at a different dairy, and we said, we need to move on from this one. And she goes, "Well, I know a place for you guys to go." And she said, Bob Steffen has 360 acres down in Iowa that I think that you would make a good fit with him. And he's in his 80s, and he just sold off all of his cows, getting ready to sell his land. And so we're like, okay, what are we out? So we do we interview or send our resume differently than most people. we put it in story form. So we wrote our story, each one of us, Mike, our two children, and I, each separately wrote our story and sent that to him. And he immediately said, hey, could you guys drive out to my place? I want to visit with you. He visited with us, and then he says, I want you on the property. He bought another, what was it, 60 head of 70 head of cattle for us to manage, 3 very cute bulls.
Bulls are not cute.
They're cute. And so we were on his property for 5 years.
And I like to tell people that Bob Steffen is the grandpa I never had, because he is the only relative, or the only person that I would consider a relative, that actually gave us a chance. He gave us that next chance, that next step of confidence that we can do this. And this is when we started feeding people. We actually, this was the start of us doing a buying co-op where we grew protein for about 40 families in Omaha, Nebraska. And so we were sending the beef, we were doing all the different milk products. We did lamb, we did eggs, which actually my son, that was his business. And then we also did the broilers also. So we would do about 1,500 to 2,000 broilers a year. And that's what we would do there. And that's why when we picked up another book that actually helped us to really start zoning in on how to run a business and how to take care of the land, different techniques. This is another regenerative agriculture, but this one is from
Richard Perkins.
Richard Perkins. He's a British man that's now living in Switzerland, or is it?
Where is he living?
I think it's Switzerland. But he's got a YouTube channel also. Very, very smart guy. Very, very ambitious. Really nice guy too. I love his YouTube channel that way. So that was when we started to figure out that, hey, we're going to feed people. We're going to help their diets. And it was amazing using a lot of the Weston A. Price followers. And that was who Sally Fallon is the president of, is this Weston A. Price Foundation. And if you need to know more information, just Google Weston Price and you can find out some information about that.
So as we're doing, can I go into this one?
Well, I was going to say, after 5 years,
Well, this was
oh,
before
that's
that.
right.
So this was before that.
During this process,
So while we're helping these different individuals, we had one gentleman, he comes up to me, he goes, I don't have time to read this book. Will you read this book for me? And I'm like, okay. And I'm so glad that I did. We Want to Live by Agnes Vonderplanitz. This one's out of print right now. And he's talking completely about raw meat, raw fat, raw honey, and very little vegetables. And we were on this diet for 3 years. So We Want to Live was and he's in California. When we were at the dairy packaging raw butter, we were actually sending it to him and didn't even know it.
so these
Our
connections, these connections that the universe is doing for us. This is his recipe book. And he had passed away with a suspicious accident in Thailand. He was not liked by any of the mainstream agencies. So there's a lot of
railing just happened to be loose and he fell off a 2-story and died.
Yeah. So we're not sure what happened there. But with us doing that diet, there was a TV program that was looking for participants to be on that. And so we got a message, hey, why don't you guys do this? This ought to be pretty cool. And we thought, all right, well, we will try. And so we put our application in, and we got on Wife Swap. So in 2007, we ended up being one of the participants in Wife Swap. And guess what? We were the goofy ones. So I will tell you that that's an education in itself to figure out that reality TV is not reality. They had a screenwriter on set the entire time that we were there. So they knew what the story was. They just had to get us to perform the acts that they want. Yes, we did feel like monkeys at times. So, but it was a sea change for us, knowing to find out that we were being pretty naive about life.
And knowing who your friends are and who they're not. I
Yeah.
mean, we thought we had really close friends. Some of them, had been at our house, we had church together and everything, but once that aired, they didn't want anything to do with us. And then we had other people that were like, oh my gosh, it was so funny to see, this is like not even you guys, so it was a learning, and it helps us that if you're ever going to be interviewed, that you know what the outcome is going to be like, because you could have the same interview, like even how we're talking right now, and if you take it, you can edit it in many different ways to make it sound differently. So.
Yeah, the power is in editing. So after wife swap, unfortunately, Bob had passed away, and his son said, "Hey, you freeloaders, you need to start paying rent, and I want a piece of your business." And so we had to move from that property to another one, and then eventually we had been doing this for about 10 years. It got to the point where all four of us, myself, Barb, our son, and our daughter, were like, we can't feed 40 families by ourselves anymore. And this is why I'm so passionate about community building, is that I realized there's no way that we could do this on our own. So we then figure out that, you know what, let's help people start building their own homesteads. And that's when we become consultants, and we move to the East Coast. And when we moved to the East Coast, this is where we had very wealthy people hired us to develop their farms, and which was a good experience for us. It also helped us to realize that that farms are not something. Well, let me put it to this way. The joke goes, how do you make $1 million farming? Start with 10 million. So that's really, in a nutshell, what really happens is that farming is not something that's a quick fix, a get rich quick scheme. So, so anyway, that's, we moved out there, and then, I'm going to skip that one. I don't think that was this.
So while we're out there, we're on one farm, and we went to a conference, a biodynamic conference, and we're sitting, it's during a break, and I saw this lady sitting in the bleacher area, and I was like, Mike, I think that's Sally Fallon. And he goes, yeah, it is. He goes, why don't you go talk to her? I'm like, I'm not a fan girl. I don't go like, oh, like people do with Ben. Oh, Ben, it's on. He goes, no, just go ahead. Well, I was a chapter leader when in on that for the West Name Price. So I just went up to her and I told her, hey, I used to be a chapter leader for you. This is who we are, how are you? She asked us more questions, and then she asked us even more questions. She goes, are you guys interested in running my farm? So we sent her another resume, which was our story, our background. And so she hired us, and she has a farm on the East Coast, and we started up her raw milk dairy, and we worked there for the first 3 years of her farm. So it's all about connection.
And this is where I like to brag about Barb. So Barb was basically the cheese maker, and she made blue cheese, cave aged cheddar cheese, and then a couple other specialty cheeses. They sent the blue cheese and the cheddar cheese to Wisconsin for a cheese contest. She got first with her cheddar, No, the blue cheese got first and the cheddar cheese got second. So I think the people in Wisconsin are going, Maryland. So that's called the echo effect. Yeah, that's from Maryland. Maryland. So anyway, so I like to brag on Barb on that one. So we were there for a couple years, 3 years, got that developed. I really started to hone my skills on rotational grazing. And so then we left that one and went to another one that was in northern Maryland. It's 160 acres. It's called Mary's Land Farm. We
Another consultant had brought us in to
That's
help
right.
him with it. And as we're consulting, we're like, you need to hire us because you have so many issues that you have going on. So we spent 2 days of consulting and then they hired us.
Right. I will say that just before that, I had went to Australia to Jeff Lawton's farm in Australia to get my permaculture design certificate. So I think that helped in us opening some doors that way. Barb got her permaculture certificate online through Jeff Lawton also, and I think that's what helped us get a part of it, credibility in doing that. Education is not a bad thing. Just make sure you get a return in that investment. And this is where, in this, I said, I can't design a farm this big for you, but I do know somebody that we can. And this is Dan Halsey with,
Regenerative.
no,
Huh?
oh my gosh,
Ecological design.
ecological design, and he's done a lot of work there at the ranch with us and put on some classes. If you ever get a chance to sit down and tug on his ear, it's a great, he's a great guy, great guy. But anyway, he helped us design it, we installed it, and then used all the principles of that and really made it to really sing. Now, the gentleman that hired us had 6 kids, 5 kids,
5 or 6.
5 or 6 kids.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, and he wanted them to run the farm. So he was creating positions for them. And so we left that one, and Barb went back to her flowering roots and became a florist. And I went and fixed things at a school for troubled youth in Maryland. And this was all in about in 2019, and in 2020 we know what happened. So by the end of that time, and it was about in 1819 is when I really started seeing Ben's posts. And as I look back now, I realize that I was when I first found out about Ben, he ruined my life because I went through the 5 stages of grief. The first one was denial. Obviously, this guy's a wacko. There's nothing. The evidence is overwhelming. Then you get mad because you're, where you are and it's not the right place. We were in Maryland. So then you go into the negotiating things, and Barb can vouch for this. I spent 6 months trying to figure out how to save us in Maryland. And I remember reading a book about a guy who built a really big boat. And I thought, hey, I can do that. So growing up in Iowa, in between the Mississippi and the Missouri, I thought, hey, I'll get 27 barges. I'll tie all the barges together, fill them full of soil, and I'll have my homestead float like that. But I'll need one piece of equipment that's most important, is that when the water comes in and then starts going out, I need an anchor to drop down and hold me there. I only had one problem. I didn't have $10 million to get started. So then you go into depression, and it's like, well, what am I going to do? And it wasn't until we listened to the book 1 second after. And there's and I really, anybody that hasn't ever heard this book, I strongly recommend you guys either reading or listening to 1 second after. It's a really, really good book. Kind of gives you some thinking points on what our preps need to be. But there was a segment in there probably 3-4 weeks after the event had happened. And there was an older couple, probably Barb and I's age, that realized that they were takers, not givers in their situation. And that night they walked up to their cabin and there were two flashes in the windows. And I was like, holy cow. And what that really showed me was that it was about being in acceptance. And when I realized that, hey, fate has put me on the East Coast. We've made lots of connections. My granddaughters are here. My son's here. This is the way it's going to be. Until late January of 2024, when Ben puts a morning post out saying, hey, we're getting ready to start the ranch. Here are some positions that are available. If you think you can fill them, fill out the form and give us a call. And that was late January of 2024. And by May 1st, we moved out to Colorado. None of that was my idea. None of that was Barb's idea. But as soon as I mentioned this to Barb and I said, what do you think? And she goes, what do we got to lose? You hate your job. I hate my job. She had stopped being a florist. And
so it's amazing how things are, signs move you in the right direction at the right time. I was nailing it, being a florist for 5 years. I brought it from 247th store up to I was in the top 10 towards the last 2 years. And so I really enjoyed my job tremendously, but my hands started cracking so bad that anytime I touched the flowers, they would just crack open. I'd have gloves on, and they'd get better. And then I would accidentally touch the flowers and they'd crack again. So I was like, well, I need to switch jobs. So then that's when there's more to it, how it synced and worked. But I became a receptionist where Mike was working. So I was there for a couple months before, well, actually a month. And then we found out we were going to be moving. So
yeah. So that's how Barb and I got out to Observer Ranch. Trying to think if there's anything else that I've got here. No, I think that's about it. Do you have anything else to add? Well, we do have one more.
The Phoenix Protocol is the other book that I would definitely add to this. This is August Dunning. We met him while we were out here. Mike and I have both gone on the dry fast. I did a 7-day prior to him, and then he did a 5-day. And so we can talk extensively on that as well. But that is one of our biggest health journeys that changed for us. And in this book here, Head to Toe Healing. Chuny Lin, CHUNYI, and then LIN, Head to Toe Healing. So like if you have a bloody nose, you raise your hand, your elbow above your nose on whatever side. That it really does work. And there's a bunch of other things. So this is, you can tell this book I use it as a reference, and it's a good book. I think I got everything else out of this box.
So that's our short list of books that we have. Oh yeah, this is another one. This is another one that really actually helped increase the size of my empathy gland. It's called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. This is a really good book. I think that this is probably the textbook that most communities should try and work with. I would like to really have everybody, at least be aware of this. Marshall has a lot of YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel. I believe it's Nonviolent Communication. And there's a lot of segments in there that kind of give you a sense of what nonviolent communication is.
Needs not being met.
Yes, needs not being met is generally why people get violent. And if you find out what that is, then generally you can come up with solutions to take that violence away. So looks like we got this thing done in a little bit less than an hour. If there are any questions about any of this stuff, you guys let us know and we'll stick around for a while.
So awesome.
Hey, Mike, read Days of Wrath by William Fortune, the same guy that wrote 1 Second After. It's a little novella about 140 pages long. It'll keep you on your seat.
And it's, what was it again?
Day of Wrath.
Oh,
R-A-T
nice.
R-A-T-H. His
Okay.
health is not doing well right now either. So keep him in your prayers if you would.
Okay. All right.
He's kind of a friend from back home in North Carolina. So
Excellent. Thanks, Daniel.
sure.
Goodness, my goodness.
Anybody else got any questions?
Where to start?
Hmm.
What year were you
Looks like
in?
Alan has one.
Alan. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I was kind of blown away when they said, "Please help me with my farm," but their farm was too large. What is it that didn't scale?
I don't know which one you're talking about there.
You were asked to consult on a farm,
Oh, yeah. So
and go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say that their farm wasn't too large. It's just they had no experience, and most of it was that they had read enough to be dangerous, and they didn't have the experience to put all of the pieces together. One of the things that the previous consultant had told him was that you didn't need to put any grass seed out. All the grass seed's already out there. Well, the problem was this was row crop that had been farmed for over 100 years of corn, beans, tobacco. There was nothing but weed seeds there. And he was starving his cows. They had bought the cows because they were told that, hey, just put cows on the ground and grass will grow. Didn't work quite that way.
They didn't put enough hay out if they were
Yeah.
going to do it that way.
Yeah, there's a
Wow.
lot of steps involved in when you're trying to recover domestic or conventional agriculture land. You've got to take some steps before you even put the first animal on there. You've got to make sure you've got backup hay because they're not going to get a lot of food out of there, even from the weeds. And then it's going to take time for that grass to get established. I know that multiple times on different farms, I would go out there and I would put the seed out in August, either drill it or spread it or whatever. And I had to keep the cows off for the whole winter because those little baby grass seeds had to get established. I couldn't just run the cows out there when I saw grass or little green coming up in the pastures. And there wasn't that much food. So that's one instance. And then not knowing how to rotationally graze. That's taken me 15 years and I still learn because every year is different. Every cow is different.
Location.
Every location is different. You really have to be site specific when you're talking about these things. And it takes a lot of experience to do that. And I get fooled all the time. I mean, coming out here to Colorado, this is a completely different planet from the East Coast, or even the Midwest. It breaks all of the rules that I was taught where there is water, because if there is water, you have different rules. So, yeah, so those are kind of the things that I helped them with that way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You bet.
Have you ever done anything with rabbits?
No, I'm not a big fan of rabbits.
But I want to be.
Yeah, I told this is the compromise, needs not being met. Was that I said, yes, we can raise rabbits because rabbit meat is really, really lean, a lot of protein. You've got to have a supplement of fat that goes with that. But your Great Pyrenees dogs, your guard dogs, they don't care about that. So feed the rabbits to the dogs, and then Barb can take the
I can
hides.
have all the pelts.
Yeah, take all the pelts, and she can make me fancy clothes. So
Good
that's
compromise.
yeah, that's the compromise. But I look at those, I look at animals that way myself is, and there's another book I didn't bring here. It's called The Lean Farmer. I don't remember what the gentleman's name is, but the book is The Lean Farmer. And he talks about how to efficiently raise carrots. That's his example. And the lean process is about every step that you take, you add value to the customer in there. If it doesn't add value, you try to eliminate that as much as you can. So, in other words, stop picking something up, setting it down, then picking it up, setting it down. Pick it up once and do 4 or 5 things with it. That's one example. Does putting a fancy label on a bag of, or even having a bag for the carrots, does that bring value to the customer for the cost that you have to do? And the costs are the bag, the time to bag, washing things and things like that. So the lean farmer was a really good one. So I use that to try and farm as efficiently as possible. And I look at the difference between a rabbit and a 5 pound broiler that has its fat there. I can feed my entire family probably 3 or 4 meals out of a 5 pound broiler versus a 5 pound rabbit. And it's more efficient. That's one process. Another one is when you look at quail. People sit there and go, "Oh, I like to raise quail. They're so small and stuff like that." It's like, okay, sure, but how many quail do you have to clean and pick up and hand, pick up, lay down, pick up and hand, to match a 5 pound broiler? So those are some of the processes that I look at. Another one, I'm not a big goat fan. Anybody that knows me, I will tell you that goats take a special person. Um, and yes, I agree with you, Daniel. I'm not a goat. And in fact, here's one of the examples that I like to tell people. If you're building fence for a goat, to test how good it is, you take a 5 gallon bucket of water, throw it at the fence. If any water gets through the fence, your fence is not good enough. And then I see a video of a little tiny goat that's going up a 6 foot concrete wall. It's like goat parkour. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to mess with goats.
Well,
Sheep,
yeah, we have had goats before and a milking goat. And I was late at milking time. She got out and came to the back door and was pawing at the back door for me to come out.
and I think that's the other thing. I don't like animals that are smarter than me. So that's the other side of it too. So just those are some of the ways that I try and think about when I'm doing farming. How can I do it the most efficient way?
So Barb and Mike, would you speak to kind of like what you're doing at the ranch now? I know you're a jack of all trades, you're doing everything, but um,
Yes, I do
what's
clean
your
the toilets.
what?
Yes, I do clean the toilets.
What's your vision for yourself out there? I mean, I think you mentioned to me that some of your family is still on the East Coast, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's hard.
yeah, we're not going to move back to the East Coast, but we are looking for land. We would like to set up a homesteading facility for people to have an experience. But right now we're at the ranch helping them and giving people experiences there as much as we can by teaching
Yeah.
the classes.
Right. And um, yes, I would love to have my daughter and son-in-law and my son and my 2 grandbabies come out here to Colorado. My daughter is in Fort Collins, but she's 4 hours away. I would love them to live on the same piece of property that I do, but I realized that I haven't built something better that offers them a better future than what they have right now. So that's on me right now. If I have to build something that shows them that they have a better. And what's really funny is Clown World and what I build are going to start catching up. So I don't have to completely get there, but I just have to be better than what they have. As Clown World descends, they'll start seeing that, hey, let's go to Nana and Papa's homestead and have a future there. And that's, I think, the vision that I have for communities is that, yeah, we can't sit there and bring all of our children or all of our grandchildren because they have a life right now that's better than what you have presented to them. We have to do something that um, that gives them that future, and that's what I try and present when I do the classes on community building. When I talk about carrying capacity of the land, I'm designing and helping people to get to the point where there's going to be a future for them.
I love the idea that you're teaching these classes. You have so much experience. I relate to many of those books that I know about Joel Salatin. I know about Western Price Foundation. I've worked with an agronomist, and we use the Albrecht system.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So it's fascinating and so needed, but there's a lot of us that aren't up to speed. So
I,
I
well,
love
another contact or another point that we worked with was with Dr. Elaine Ingham, and Dr. Elaine Ingham is the compost lady, and she's the one that kind of designed the phrase the soil food web. That's the free livestock that we have the availability to just manifest so much health out of the soil, from all the microorganisms, the arthropods, microarthropods, earthworms, and then one of the most important ingredients, if you can get your soil to that point, is to get the mycelium there. When that mycelium's there, you basically have put the internet in your soil because that's where everything really starts to connect.
the symbiotic relationship between it all.
Yes,
And we can't
yes,
forget the sun. We need that.
yes. At least until it gets angry.
Oh my gosh. Uh,
Yeah.
are there any more questions? I mean, I think I so appreciate how you wove this all together for us and with these great books.
Miss Helen, go ahead.
Hi, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for describing this and in such a informational way. Um, I was wondering, when you're talking about soil, have you heard about the World Economic Forum 2030 plans for uh, the soil and getting uh, information, technocracy into the soil itself to report back on the quality of the soil, etc. Have you heard that? I only just heard it like 2 weeks ago from Ice Age Farmer. Um,
No, I
you're
haven't heard
familiar
anything about that.
with that?
I'm wondering, that technology is a good thing until it starts to control us. Uh,
That's what it is. Yep.
yeah, and that's, I mean, we would have never known that mycelium communicates with plants in the soil if we didn't have the technology to know that, and that plants talk to each other. That's where technology elevates us so that we connect with our surroundings. But when it comes to the point where they want to make sure that we eat bugs and have nothing and are happy, I like to tell people I eat vegetarians, and then I let my the things that I eat the bugs so that I don't have to. So
Yeah.
my chickens eat bugs, my cows are vegetarians. That's how I'm going to be happy.
I think that after the kill shot, it won't be an issue, but uh, until then, we've got to deal with these clown world people messing with the soil. I'll just stop there. Thanks.
Yes, I agree with that. You are absolutely right that when the lights go out, that's going to cure a whole lot of problems. We'll get some new ones, but I think those are going to be easier to work with. Um, but the um, but until then, I think you know make yourself as small as possible. So make a big stink. That's what I'm going to try and do. Just go out, and I'm just this harmless little Amish guy that if you cross him, I'm not a pacifist. That's really what I'm training myself to get to, is live like the Amish, um, but protect yourself. Um, and so, maybe it's a sleeper cell Viking. Maybe that's what I could be. So something like that. Any other questions?
Can you talk a little bit more about manifestation and your practices for that?
That's a really good one.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's mostly been accidental, except that we know that for us, that it either has to be written down, you have to talk about it.
You have to visualize it as it
Yes.
already has happened, not, oh, it's coming. So the other day, I was manifesting rain to come. And so I just imagined myself like the rain coming on me, and it was cold and I felt the water. Within an hour, we did have rain come in. I don't do it on a regular basis because I doubt myself a lot. But so when you do it, you just have confidence that it's going to happen, and it's already happening, I guess, is the best way. But
Yeah.
August Dunning has his new book out, The Manifesting. I haven't read it yet. But I'm going to get that soon.
Yeah. So
Oh,
those
can I
are, yeah,
Can I add
go ahead.
something real fast?
Yes.
So when you're talking about practicing manifestation and imagining that it's already happened, one of the most powerful practices I've found in my manifestation is practicing gratitude.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think about what I'm grateful for
Yes.
what I would have and how I can help people and what I can do with it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That is a big part of it.
Yeah, because appreciation is where,
Gratitude.
gratitude and you're really letting the universe know that you are happy that this is happening to you. Any other questions?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, can I say something?
Yeah, go
Just
ahead,
wanted
Joe.
to say that I'm trying to talk Bud into working on a section where people can recommend books and put everything up there, covering every subject that, people might want to share with everybody else. Call it the library or something else. So Mike and Barb, if you guys come up on the website eventually, it would be great if you could share some of your book recommendations as well. So thanks. That's all.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Dan.
I'll add in. Dan's got a lot of good ideas, and it's going to take me time to implement them all. And hi, Mike and Barb. I finally did make it home. I got home last night at 1 a.m. after about 5 hours of flight delays. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for the weekend.
You
You're
bet,
very
bud.
welcome.
Thanks,
It was
bud.
nice meeting you in person.
Mara, you had a question.
Yeah. Are you guys, because I know you're in Colorado, are you worried about the water situation, being that they supply so many states?
Yes and no. I'm being very selective of what I'm looking for. And that's not making it easy. I also know that some of the practices that I've learned from being in the East can be brought here. There are practices that are done down in Australia to make the soil and the land come back to alive. One of them is called a keyline system. It's what's his name?
Yeoman.
Yeoman's P.A. Yeoman, I believe, is the gentleman that kind of codified the keyline system. And basically what that is directing water from the wet points out to the dry points. That's kind of the elevator pitch on that. But you're using implements to make sure that water goes into the soil. On the farm that we were in Maryland, I did it on 80 of the 100 acres, and that 80 acres, the water never ran off and went into the berms and swales that we had built. On the 10 or 20 acres that was left over, anytime there was a 1 inch rain, the berms and swells and ponds would fill up. Um, and I was amazed by that. My son is now running that farm. And I asked him, I said, hey, when you get these big rains, is the rain starting to fill those berms and swells where we key lined? And he goes, no, that was 10 years later and we did it once. So yeah, it's amazing that water is going right where it's supposed to. It's not running off at all. So that's one of the techniques that you can try out here in Colorado.
But add.
But there's a couple techniques that you've got to add into that. You also have to go around a few rocks sometimes too. That's the difficulty out here is that
You've got to add some organic matter or some kind of manure and wood chips, or possibly to put in those little cracks, because if you don't, then it's going to, the soil just closes back up because it's so silty.
right. And it's about timing. It's about knowing the conditions. And, I've only been out here 2 years in the high desert of Canyon City and Penrose. And I'll tell you, you need the water. It's crucial to have water, and that is a concern. But I also know that Clown World's going to fix a lot of that too, because less people are going to need that water. So there'll be more water for the people that are left over. So I hate to put it that way, but that's just the way it looks like.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Mike, it's great to see you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm in Colorado as well. I'm on the western slope, and we had a rough time with water in the late spring and the early summer. However, we had a few rains that came through, and the well is filling up. So it's 1,000-gallon cistern, so it's staying full. But late spring, early summer, the landlord there was having to fill up the cistern regularly, a couple times a week. But it is back to normal right now. I don't know how long that'll last. We had no water at all coming down the ditches during July at all. They just don't want any water coming down. It's just a waste. And so they turned the water back on, and I'm sprinkling my yard again, but I'm in Virginia for a month, so I just figured I'd tune in here.
Appreciate it. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
No, and I'll tell everybody that that I think our saving grace is that we're going to get this super duper, this stupendous. It's the best. It's the best El Nino that's ever been. It's coming. So I think that's what we've got to look forward to. And I don't look good in purple, so I don't hold my breath. We'll just have to wait and see.
Mike, I will say this for you. I asked my rancher about the last Nina that came through, and he said they got drenched up there in the rancher country. So
Nice.
They're hoping for it. So we're hoping as well.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. All right, guys.
Keep my
We
fingers
need
crossed for you.
What's that?
Keep my fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. Do your toes too. So we're gonna jump off here, guys. We've got a 3.5 hour trip back to the ranch. So I appreciate everyone for being here. This has been fantastic. We'll do some more of these. Some with Barb, some without. We've got another one that Barb and I do, and it's mostly Barb then. It's home remedies. That's one that we can do also. So yeah. And then we've got some other ones to come. But I do appreciate everybody showing up. This has been fantastic. And thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Thank you so much.
We loved having you. And I have, if you'd like the recording of this, I can send it to you.
That would
Okay.
be awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to
Thank you,
stop the
Mike.
recording now for a second. Here we
Thank you
go.
so much.
Thank you.